Welcome to Cheater Confessions. Let's get started with today's story. You ever think you've got it all figured out, and then life just walks up and punches you in the gut when you're not looking? That's how it started for me. My name's Alex. I'm 36, senior site manager for a commercial construction company out in North Carolina. I wasn't flashy. I wasn't rich. I was the guy you could set your watch to. Up at 5 a.m., black coffee, boots on by 5:30, site by 6. I had a system, and it worked. Marry the right girl, buy the right house, build the right life. And for a long time, it looked like I had. Her name was Donna. She was a 31-year-old pediatric nurse, smart, kind, a little wild around the edges, but in a way that made you feel alive. She believed in handwritten notes, Sunday hikes, and dancing barefoot in the kitchen after a couple glasses of wine. We were planning a spring wedding. Big oak trees, string lights, a barbecue truck instead of some fancy caterer, because that was just us. At least, that's what I thought. There was one thing I couldn't have predicted. Eric, my best friend since high school. We'd built decks together in the summers, shared cheap beers on tailgates, stood up at each other's graduations. I thought if there was one man on earth I didn't have to second guess, it was him. Donna loved him too, at first. The three of us would hang out, laugh, swap old stories. I thought it was harmless. Hell, I encouraged it. Who wouldn't want their future wife and best friend to get along? I missed the first cracks when they showed up. Thought the late-night texts between them were about surprise party planning. Thought the way Donna started locking her phone was just because work stuff was sensitive. Turns out it wasn't work she was hiding. It was the beginning of the fire I didn't know was already burning under my feet. The first real crack came on a random Wednesday night. I got home late from a site inspection, covered in dust and tired to the bone. Donna was curled up on the couch, scrolling her phone, barely looked up when I walked in. "Hey," I said, kicking off my boots. "Hey," she muttered back, eyes still on the screen. I sat down next to her, trying to shake off the feeling that I was suddenly a guest in my own house. "Everything all right?" "Yeah," she said too quickly. Then, after a pause, "Just tired?" She set the phone down for a second. It buzzed. I glanced down without thinking, and there it was. Eric's name flashing across the lock screen, right before she flipped it face down like nothing had happened. I didn't say anything. Not then. Not yet. A week later, I found myself at a bar with Eric. Old habits. Same place we used to go when we were broke kids pretending we knew what we were doing. He was throwing back beers like a man trying to forget something. "You good?" I asked him. He grinned, all teeth and no heart. "Never better, brother." I should have seen it then. The way he wouldn't meet my eyes, the way his knee bounced under the table like he was ready to bolt. Instead, I told myself I was overthinking it. Work stress, wedding stress, normal stuff. It wasn't normal. That Friday, Donna said she had to work a double shift. I packed her lunch, kissed her forehead, watched her drive away. 3 hours later, on a gut instinct I couldn't explain, I drove past the hospital. Her car wasn't there. I sat in my truck for a long time after that, staring at the empty spot where she should have been. When I finally drove home, heart pounding, Donna was already there, showered, hair damp, smiling like nothing had happened. "How was work?" I asked, keeping my voice steady. "Busy," she said without missing a beat. And right then, I knew. I didn't have proof yet, but I knew. The blueprint was starting to tear itself apart. I didn't confront her that night. I needed more than gut instinct. I needed something undeniable. So I waited. Over the next few days, Donna got sloppier. She'd disappear for hours with vague excuses. She started smiling at her phone the way she used to smile at me. I barely slept, barely ate, but I stayed calm, focused. One evening while she was in the shower, she left her phone on the kitchen counter, unlocked. Maybe it was fate. Maybe it was just her getting cocky. Either way, I picked it up. The first thing I saw was a text from Eric. "I miss you already. Last night was unreal." My chest tightened, but I kept scrolling. Photos, messages, jokes that only made sense if you'd been sharing a bed. Plans, texts about next time, texts saying, "Can't wait to see you again." It wasn't emotional cheating. It was full-on betrayal. I heard the water shut off upstairs. I put the phone back exactly where I found it and sat down at the kitchen table, waiting. Donna came down the stairs a few minutes later, wrapped in a towel, humming some stupid song. She stopped dead when she saw me sitting there. "Hey," she said cautiously. "Everything okay?" I looked at her, really looked at her, and realized I didn't recognize the woman standing in front of me anymore. "We need to talk," I said. She bit her lip, eyes darting to the phone. "About what?" "Eric," I said simply. The blood drained from her face so fast it was almost impressive. "Alex, Save it," I cut in. "I'm not here for the lies." She opened her mouth, maybe to deny it, maybe to spin it. I stood up before she could get a word out. "You made your choice," I said. "Now I'm making mine." I looked at her one last time. "Pack your things," I said. "I want you out by tomorrow." I walked out the door, got in my truck, and drove. I wasn't running. I wasn't defeated. I just needed a night to clear my head. But one thing was certain. I wasn't letting her stay in my house. By sunrise, I had a plan. First thing I did was call Nathan, an old buddy from a security job I worked years back. Nathan had a knack for finding things most people wanted hidden. We weren't close anymore, but favors owed are a currency that spends anywhere. I kept it simple. "I need everything you can dig up on Eric Dalton," I said, "and I need it fast." Nathan didn't ask questions, just said, "Give me 3 days." I used to think I knew everything about Eric. Turns out, I only knew the parts he wanted me to see. When I went back to the house, her car was gone. So were her things. I changed the locks that same afternoon. I wasn't interested in shared memories anymore, just clean exits. I put the house up for sale, found a short-term rental across town, small place, quiet, no shared memories bleeding from the walls. The calls started 2 days later. First Donna, then Eric. I let them go to voicemail. I wasn't ready to listen yet. I wasn't sure I ever would be. On the third morning, Nathan called back. "Got something you'll want to see," he said. We met at a rundown diner on the edge of town. Nathan slid a thick manila folder across the table like we were plotting a heist. Eric wasn't just sleeping with Donna. He was sleeping with 2 other women, both married, both oblivious. His gym business was a scam too, fronting as a personal trainer while selling unlicensed supplements out of the trunk of his car. Worse, he had a DUI charge he never disclosed, one that could tank his insurance and business licenses if the right people found out. Nathan leaned back and sipped his coffee. "Your boy's a walking house fire," he said. Good, I thought, because it was time someone struck the match. I didn't rush it. You only get one shot at doing this right. First, I made a few anonymous tips, sent copies of Nathan's evidence to the gym's owner where Eric worked, highlighted the unlicensed supplement sales, flagged the insurance issues, tossed in the DUI paperwork for good measure. Less than a week later, Eric's smiling face was yanked off the gym's website. His class schedule vanished. Next, I dropped a few breadcrumbs for the 2 other women Eric had been juggling. Anonymous messages, screenshots attached. I didn't need to say much. Once suspicion takes root, it grows on its own. Meanwhile, Donna kept calling. Her voicemails shifted from tearful to angry to desperate. "Alex, please, can we just talk?" I made a mistake. One mistake. "You're being cruel now. You're better than this." No, I wasn't better than this. Not anymore. I was exact. Then came the real move. I compiled everything, the affairs, the business scams, the DUI, and mailed it anonymously to the state licensing board Eric was trying to get certified through. One bad report wouldn't ruin a man like Eric, but a stack of them, it'd bury him. One afternoon, while grabbing coffee near my rental, I saw them, Eric and Donna, sitting outside a sandwich shop. She looked hollowed out. He looked furious, talking fast, hands slicing the air like knives, probably blaming her for his life crumbling. I watched them for a minute, unnoticed. Then I walked away. There was no satisfaction in it, no fist-pumping victory, just a cold certainty settling in my bones. They set the fire. I just made sure it spread. The fallout came faster than I expected. 2 weeks after the licensing board got the evidence, Eric's application was denied. Word spread fast around town. Small towns bleed rumors like open wounds. His gym clients started dropping off one after another. Meanwhile, the 2 women Eric had been seeing, their husbands found out. There were fights, shouting matches outside the gym. One of the husbands even showed up at Eric's apartment, pounding on the door loud enough to make the neighbors call the cops. I didn't have to lift a finger. The world did the heavy lifting for me. As for Donna, she didn't escape clean either. Turns out, Eric wasn't built for long-term commitment. Once the walls started closing in, He did what rats do. He jumped ship, moved out of the apartment he and Donna had tried renting together, left her with half the bills, none of the backup. One night, about a month after everything started unraveling, she showed up at my rental. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity's a stubborn thing. I opened the door. She stood there in a worn hoodie, hair tied back, face pale and tired. Not the woman who used to dance in my kitchen. A ghost of her. "Alex," she said, voice cracking. Please talk to me." I didn't say anything, just stepped aside. She walked in slowly, like the air was heavier inside. "I made a mistake," she said. I thought what we had wasn't exciting anymore. I thought Eric." "You thought wrong," I said calmly. She wiped at her eyes. "I lost everything." "No," I corrected. "You threw it away. There's a difference." She looked at me like she was expecting mercy, maybe even hoping I'd offer it. I didn't. "Donna," I said, voice steady, "you're standing in the wreckage you built. I'm not here to dig you out." There was nothing left to say after that. She left without another word, shoulders hunched like the weight of all her choices finally crushed her down. I closed the door behind her and locked it. This time, for good. After Donna walked out that night, something shifted. It wasn't relief. It wasn't triumph. It was just space, empty, wide, and quiet. For the first time in months, I wasn't waking up checking my phone for new fires to put out. I wasn't looking over my shoulder, wondering when the next betrayal would land. I was free, and I intended to stay that way. I threw myself into work, took every overtime shift they offered, ran projects like a machine, quiet, focused, unbreakable. My boss noticed. Promotions started floating into conversation. On the weekends, I started volunteering with a local group rebuilding houses for veterans. I wasn't trying to be noble. I just needed something to put my hands on, something real. Nails, wood, concrete, things that didn't lie. It was on one of those sites I met Sarah. She was a site coordinator, smart, focused, knew how to read a room without needing to fill it with noise. She didn't flinch when I was quiet, and she didn't push when I wasn't ready to talk. One Saturday afternoon, after we finished framing a porch, we sat on the back steps drinking bad gas station coffee. No small talk, no reaching, just silence, and the kind of company that doesn't ask you to explain yourself. That's the thing about real people. They don't need your scars labeled and packaged. They just sit with you while you heal. I didn't rush it, didn't try to turn it into something before it was ready. But I knew. For the first time since Donna tore everything apart, I wasn't looking backwards anymore. I was laying new bricks, new beams, stronger than the old ones, and this time I was building for me. The house was sold the same month. Some places aren't worth salvaging. 6 months passed. Eric was gone. Last I heard, he skipped town after the gym lawsuits drained what little money he had left. Some said he was bartending 2 states over, picking up shifts under a fake last name. Donna moved back in with her parents, got a job at a clinic on the other side of the county. Word was, she kept to herself now. No more big plans, no more dancing in kitchens, just silence and small talk. I didn't hate them. That surprised me more than anything. I thought hate would be what fueled me, what carried me through. But standing there, on the balcony of my new place, city lights stretching out in front of me like a sea, I realized it wasn't hate keeping me standing. It was choice. They chose to lie. I chose to survive. There's a difference. One night, Sarah and I sat outside watching a storm roll in over the skyline. She pulled a blanket tighter around her shoulders, handed me a beer without asking. "If you could go back," she said, "would you do anything different?" I thought about it for a long minute. "Yeah," I said finally. "I'd listen closer." "To what?" she asked. "To the cracks," I said. "To the things I didn't want to see." She nodded like she understood. Because she did. Lightning flashed in the distance, outlining the buildings in stark, electric white. "You're not broken, you know," she said quietly. "No," I agreed. "Just rebuilt." She smiled and leaned back against the railing, comfortable in the silence. And me? I didn't need revenge anymore. I didn't need closure from people who never knew how to give it. I had something better. I had my own damn peace. And this time, I wasn't going to give it away for anyone. Thank you for watching.